Good morning, Coffee Moaners.
Welcome, Coffee Moaners, new and old. If you're new and you haven't hit the subscribe button, it would really helps us out if you can. We are 7 days a week here, and it's just the two of us. So
we're not now. You've just said something that's not true anymore.
Plus, if you could share any videos around Gaza and Iran and that situation, that means even more to us, to be honest, than the actual subscribe. It doesn't cost you anything to subscribe, though. It's just that. Thank you.
Now,
so
on that note, Sunday is now the only day that we don't upload, though yesterday was an exception. And I know I promised you that Nadia was going to be coming on alive later in the day. So I do apologize for that. The day ran away.
There wasn't, and well, really, there wasn't
much
news.
More to say. Yeah.
That was more it. We were ready to
But
go.
I know people are keen to hear what you've got your opinions are on, because we haven't even heard from you since America bombed Iran.
Yeah.
So before we get into that, just some other housekeeping. For family guests, the No Name Sunday show on a Monday, which is what it's now called, is going to be happening at 8 p.m. tonight. So we look forward to seeing you all there.
It's live. There'll be cooking. There'll be
chat,
other bits and pieces.
There'll be hangout. There'll be poetry.
There might be a little surprise.
Yeah. You're going to strip off.
So that's 8 o'clock tonight in the members area.
Tonight.
Yeah. And so what are we going to be talking about today, Mark?
Well, we're going to hear from you about your feelings on the bombing of Iran. We're going to talk about the suggestion on Trump's Truth Social last night that MIGA could be as important as MAGA, make Iran great again, regime change. We're going to talk about Palestine action. We did talk about this on Friday or Thursday or whenever it was last time. But the fact that they attacked the plane and vandalized an airplane at Bryce Norton. At noon today, Yvette Cooper, it's thought, is going to prescribe Palestine action as a terrorist organization. The reason this is significant, quite a few people are coming out in support of Palestine action, seeing it as a kind of encroachment on the right to protest. And we want to continue that conversation with you about what constitutes a terrorist organization. Yes, you can have organizations that commit crime, that vandalize, cause criminal damage, but does that a terrorist make? And the reason we want to talk about it today, there's the distinct possibility that if you're supporting Palestine action, if you're following Palestine action, and you're still doing that past 12 noon today,
really,
the question mark remains, could you be done for the promotion of terrorism?
So even following their account?
Potentially.
Wow.
So everyone needs to be very careful, because I have a very strong opinion on this.
I think we'll carry on with this topic.
Yeah, I have a very strong opinion on this. I think it's an extension and sits in the same part of the Venn diagram as the way in which the establishment is dealing with kneecap. I think, the Irish band, the whole kind of fuss around whether they shouldn't perform at Glastonbury, whether the BBC shouldn't carry them because of them allegedly having a Hezbollah flag on their stage. And it's just really a conversation about how the state, I think, is a little bit rattled, and how they go about dealing with opinions that they don't agree with. We're told we live in a democracy. We're told we have freedom of speech, freedom to protest. And yes, we can look into the nuanced and specific details of each case, but quite a few people, including Sally Rooney, I've got her quote and I've got the piece here that I sent you last night, have come out very, very firmly in favor and in support of Palestine action. And
Sally Rooney, who wrote Normal People. If you're thinking, I know that name, where do I know that name from? Yeah,
and just finally, my final sort of opening mission statement here is there is a mass demonstration scheduled for noon or around midday when Yvette Cooper will be standing up in the House of Commons today. The mass demonstration is planned to be in Whitehall. By all accounts, it's going to be pretty sizable, and it presents a literal problem for the police. And the literal problem for the police is this. The Met chief is shocked and frustrated at planned Palestine action protests today, mainly because he's in a situation where once Yvette Cooper prescribes it as a terrorist organization, everyone could be arrested, or perhaps will be arrested or should be arrested.
For if they're standing there shouting out,
promoting
Palestine,
for supporting a prescribed terrorist organization.
Yeah, and he's very, very cross about this, isn't he, Mark Rowley?
Yeah.
He said there's growing concern following previous. I think he said something like most of the nation disagree with what they do. There was some line, I can't find it now, which I just found, wow, that's a bit of a sweeping.
That's also
statement.
a bit non-specific.
But
as well.
also, you know, so can it literally be that you're just deemed a terrorist organization without any sort of court of law or any, or, you know, because listen, you cannot break in to anywhere and cause damage, right? You're gonna get a sentence for that, right? That is illegal. But can you just like overnight? I've never heard of that before. Is that the case?
It's quite
Doesn't
a
it
rapid.
have to go to court? I'm just confused.
Well, no, I think she can bring in emergency measures.
Oh, right.
Jonathan Hall, KC, the government's independent advisor on terrorism, has said that prescription of Palestine action was, quote, within the bounds of acceptability, even though it was on the basis of the scale of damage to infrastructure, including military equipment, rather than against individuals.
Right.
All, quote, other terrorist organizations are banned or prescribed because they're using or threatening violence to people.
Well, that was the
This
definition.
is an unusual one in this respect, he says.
Because that's when on Friday, when we were finding our way around this, we looked up the definition, didn't we? And it did say terrorized people.
Yeah.
So let's see. I don't know. Will there be any objections, do you think, today?
Yeah. Well, look, this is interesting. Lord Falconer, the former Labour Lord Chancellor, said that vandalising aircraft at RAF Bryce Norton would not solely provide legal justification for prescribing Palestine action, a terrorist group. Asked whether the group's actions were commensurate with the need to prescribe an organisation, Lord Falconer said, I am not aware of what Palestine action has done beyond the painting of things on the planes.
Yeah.
They may have done other things I didn't know. And I think that's why one has to tread carefully.
I think that's the case with all of us, isn't it? We've always said, if it is just this seems with the trolley and the shopping bag and painting, it's so we're going to have to wait and see what else that they are alleged to have done before we can make a you know, our own to have our own thoughts about it, I suppose.
But Sally Rooney says this: Israel kills innocent Palestinians, activists spray a paint plane. Guess which the UK government calls terrorism.
I mean, exactly. And just parking whether PAL action are terrorists or not, because we don't know what else they're going to be accused of. I do find it totally extraordinary that Keir can jump up very quickly and have a pink, like kneecap. He doesn't want kneecap to be at Glastonbury. And yet he stumbles and stutters around the fact, the facts, we have live streams, we have video, tens of thousands of innocent civilians have been killed through Gaza. We know babies at this very moment are starving to death. And yet there is no strong language about that. No. You can't even take him towards genocide. Forget it. Don't say the G word. Don't say the G word. You know.
What, GIMP?
You know, and that's what I think people are finding so difficult when, you know, 68% of British people want him to stop arming Israel. And then it feels like to people, again, we don't know what the backstory is with PAL action, that it feels like you can turn on a penny and, rush through emergency terrorist meetings or whatever, however you describe it. I think that's what it feels like to the activists, to the humanitarians that are desperate to make our government understand that a really, truly horrific thing is happening day in, day out, and we want them to take action, or at least say something that makes us believe there's a human heart in there somewhere.
I think
that's what's so difficult.
But I think so many parts of this could be made better, like you've just sort of indicated. Keir Starmer can be very fast and very certain when he's calling out Putin for breaking war crimes.
When it's easy.
For when the ICJ issues an arrest warrant, it's a given. You know, he's very quick to be certain on certain things. And I think it's the inconsistency across different things. So, for example, you know, He's very certain about kneecap. But even just this morning, David Lammy was put under the griller on Radio 4's Today Show. He has refused to say whether the government believes that the bombing of Iran is legal or illegal. Now, this constant sort of hand-wringing and kind of trying to navigate this sitting on the fence is so far up Starmer and Lammy's arse that it must be agonizing, absolutely agonizing. And the frustration here is that the perception is that they can be fast on certain things and they prevaricate and they mumble and they go slow on everything else. And just a final equivalence here on this is, it's the same with the Iran-Israel thing. The way the Telegraph and the Mail and all these papers are trying to suggest things is, look at the enemy within this country supporting Iran. Things would be made so much easier for everyone if Iran and Israel were held to the same standards. That if the fire was held to the feet of both nations in a similar, equivalent, and comparative way. And it's the fact that we just haven't. It's the fact that now Netanyahu has kind of become, in American and even European and the UK, almost a hero figure for doing something and triggering something in Iran that's illegal. So you have people saying, don't bomb Iran, not because they think Iran is perfect, but because the double standards are shocking.
And that is what is infuriating, that if you say anything, if you start to voice that you are really, should we use their words? Gravely concerned about a country that has very tight ties with other superpowers that have nuclear weapons, and the whole world has seen what was allowed to happen to Gaza. So if we don't have concerns about that, I think you're a lunatic if you don't have concerns about it. I think with 92 million people in a country, if you don't feel a little concerned about the lives of those human beings, because they're just as important as any other human beings, I think that's what has to be questioned. Not questioned if you do say, hang on a minute, how come we're bombing Iran? This don't feel fair, guys. Then they can start moving you towards, well, are you supporting the regime of Iran? And you start getting the mud slung at you.
Absolutely.
And it's a way of making more and more people scared to say anything. I mean, we know that every day when we sit and we talk here, every time you put something on your Instagram, it's risky, because people are going to be looking for that one little word. Never mind, look over there to actually, what is happening? What is actually happening?
You've got to start asking serious questions of your media when publications, the right-wing press, focus on what people are saying on social media rather than how they can catch up, rather than what is obviously happening. And the other part of the whole Keir Starmer quibbling and prevaricating over whether he can call it a genocide, where he's so disingenuous in this is where his qualifications as a humanitarian lawyer let him down. Every single aid agency and humanitarian organization in the world
that we respect and has been
Amnesty,
there for decades,
Save the Children, or some,
are begging,
have all defined this as a genocide. These are organizations he has worked with that he would use as the belts and braces kind of example of, if they say it, it's true. And on this occasion, he completely turns the other cheek. So he's Pontius Pilate.
286-page in-depth report from Amnesty International that came out, 10 months ago? What about The Lancet? The Lancet, the oldest and most respected medical journal, also gave the real figures a year ago of actually how many people died. Trump and Netanyahu had a slip of the tongue the other day, didn't they? Because they said, how much was it, that there was 1.8 million people in Gaza? Well, we know there was 2.1 million people in Gaza, so they slipped there. But hey, let's look for somebody or a group of people that might be saying, can we just fucking stop? Because you're making the world feel scarier and more dangerous every single day. Can somebody, where's the grown-ups? Excuse me.
Well,
I'm sorry, at the moment, all the countries that we're just supposed to hate, all the people we're supposed to hate and just see as evil, as I just heard, I just heard on a very respected program, the people of Iran are evil. What? The people of Iran are evil? My God. You know,
I think
they're coming out and actually speaking far more eloquently and articulately on the whole thing, aren't they?
Well, the problem here is that I don't think we have zero capacity as a nation with our foreign policy, as does America, to ever stop, pause, and this must be the exceptionalism of imperialism. We never stop to think, I wonder how we come across to others. I mean, at the lowest levels,
So
we don't think that when we go drinking in Spain. We don't do that when we go clubbing in Amsterdam. And we sure as hell don't think about that in terms of how Arab people on the floor feel about their countries forever being a location for manipulation, bombing, being characterized as extremists every minute of every day, where the West only ever homes in on the negative extremes of Islam. Let alone, we're going to show you a clip of fundamentalists singing Christianity at the White House. I mean, it doesn't matter that we have Benjamin Netanyahu cosplaying as Moses, quoting Moses. We have Donald Trump thinking he's actually doing a YouTube appeal, as you rightly said, Michu, to God. I mean, we've got Ted Cruz sitting there thinking that, quoting the Bible.
Not sure which page.
Not sure, hang on a minute. How do we come across? Have we paused to think?
Do we care that we come across as the most arrogant? You know what, Mark, as well? It's also this idea that all other countries, if they retaliate in any way, the way it's then twisted that they are violent and they are, and we must all fear them. Let's never allow ourselves to forget that Iran was hit first, because the narrative is there now. Wow, this was the most dangerous time. We had to do it. No, it wasn't. It wasn't.
What's so frustrating is
they were on their way to peace talks. They don't have nuclear weapons. Yeah. They have enriched uranium, but they don't have nuclear weapons.
But the thing about all of this is so many people were against the weapons of mass destruction, dodgy dossier, fraudulent, rationale for going to war in Iraq and Libya.
Turn out? We got ISIS out of it.
Even Donald Trump was anti that. So the fact that no one can smell a rat, or many people can, but how so many people still get on board with this? Most of them. And I get to the point where I look at the columnists in these papers. There's a Telegraph piece saying we know who the enemy within is, and then once again images of people on peaceful marches. And because they say don't bomb Iran, suddenly everyone is an Iranian terrorist.
I say it now.
Supporter.
Don't bomb Iran. Stop killing people in Gaza. Feed starving babies. Come on, what you got to say about me? Am I a terrible person?
Yeah, there's a second wave now of, if you're calling for a stop to violence against Iran, you are somehow a terrorist supporter and a hate marcher. I mean, we're doing it again. It's like nothing's moved on. And I have to think about these columnists are intelligent people. They're highly educated.
They hide away from
so they don't hide away. They know exactly what they're doing. When they sink themselves into their gin and tonics and their depressive little solitary existences at the end of each day, they look into that gin and tonic and they know deep down in their hearts that they're manipulating the fuck out of their readership, because that's all they're doing. That's all they're doing.
No, they're making sure that their salary still goes beautifully, swims into their account. It's all about money. Everything is about money. Everything. There are so many people in this world that care more about that than anything else. But I also want to say, I believe there's more good people than bad. I still believe that. And if enough good people around the world peacefully, but within solidarity, shoulder to shoulder, objecting to something that may not affect them directly, that is so damn powerful. And you know why we know it's so powerful? Because of things like them trying to make out for the last 20 months that peaceful marches are hate marches. Why do they do that? Because they don't want that voice. They don't want the voice of the majority, and the majority of people are good. They are good. And they want us to believe that they're not. And they want us to hide away and be terrified of other people. Because what is more powerful than this? Together we stand united against what you are doing, because it is fake. Trump standing there, moving himself, tearful at his sheer genius, his hubris. Netanyahu and him stroking each other's members.
Oiling each other up.
Netanyahu playing. He's going to his mates, Netanyahu. Watch this. There is nobody as brave and as clever and as fabulous as Trump. Nobody. And you know what? That's why we're in the mess that we're in, because he buys it. Trump buys it. He buys it all. He's been paid like a fucking kipper. And guess who's gonna pay for it? The Americans. Because what's happened now, just like with Iraq, shuffle back. Netanyahu's going to shuffle back. It's American troops in the desert. It's the Americans that will pay trillions and trillions of dollars, because this is going to go on forever. This is going to be another 30-year fucking war.
Lots of people saying, I just have to push back. Someone said Israel doesn't have nuclear weapons. They have nuclear capabilities. That's a kind of really quite, semantic kind of attempt to distinguish. They do have nuclear weapons.
I mean,
they deny nuclear weapons.
Yeah.
President Carter informed us something like 15 years ago that they had at least 150 nuclear warheads. Yeah. So Israel has nuclear armories and bombs, and they are not in any way, they haven't signed up to any of the international nuclear treaties for monitoring, for anything. And this is a country that we're supposed to trust, a country that has destroyed an entire nation. I also just want to say the other line, and it's coming through, and it's true. One can't talk about Iran and not talk about their relationships with other countries. They are talking to China, they are talking to Russia, and they are talking to North Korea. But don't those relationships with countries that we as nations have held in that axis of evil, you know, they're the terror states, they're the enemy, they're right. Okay, well, let's just accept that that's a given, though everything in life is nuanced, because if you come from some of those places, we're the enemy. It's just about POV. Well, it's about perspective, and it's about, But the point I'm trying to make here is that in everything that Trump has done, of course, is going to drive them all towards each other, which is another compelling reason for why he shouldn't have done it. And
why most of America don't want him to do it. And you know what, Mark? This is a question, right? So the president can just make a very quick decision on his own without going to Congress, right? Mm-hmm. I believe
he can't go
but they have to be they have to be under immediate threat, like there's something coming towards them. Otherwise, within the Constitution, this is what I was listening to earlier, that you have to go to Congress.
If you want to go to war, you have to get it voted.
And so that's why he hasn't said we're going to war. He just said we're just doing this one, and now he's gone, oh, if you retaliate, that would be very bad news. Very, very bad news, Iran. We're going to keep bombing you, but you sit down and you shut up and you do nothing.
The only way they can get it past, that one of the legal kind of loopholes is that if he can prove that there is a danger and a threat to American assets or American safety, he can then bypass. So what he's done here is classic. It's like what Netanyahu's done. He'll hit hard, pull back, claim it was a one-off, it was an isolated
thing.
And
then they'll hit back.
They'll hit back, understandably, because I think Israel's proven you're allowed to enact self-defense, aren't you?
No, no.
Yeah, haven't they?
Remember, but America and Israel can have self-defense.
No, that's my point. But they do self-defense. Okay, so anyway, so if Iran engages in any form of self-defense, or runs to any of its other countries, none of which are we advocates of. I don't have a Russian flag over there. I'm not friends with Putin. But, don't be surprised. Interesting detail. China has built its, if you like, industrial and global strength, not through the invasion of other countries.
Wow.
Just I mean, there's a question mark around Tibet. But Tibet,
Tibet.
But Tibet hasn't really been an economic. They haven't had an expansion. Now they've bought into companies. They've bought around the world.
What would be the difference of Iran turning around and saying to China, "Help me"? Because Israel has turned to America since the beginning of Israel, saying, "Help me."
People can't be surprised.
So why? Just keep asking yourself these questions, guys. Why is it okay there? It's not okay there.
As Sherry D says, poking the bear is okay, but if the bear attacks, it's unprovoked.
Don't put your hand in.
This is a good
to the cage.
countries attacked by bombing, sabotage, or attempted government overthrow since World War II. Iran has tried that not once. The USA and the USA, well, it's an incredibly long list of involvements from Guatemala to Tibet to Lebanon to Angola to Cambodia, Vietnam, Somalia, you name it.
Listen, it's interesting that all these countries are also part of the greater Israel, Lebanon, Syria, Iran. So there's got to be, I mean, I don't know. What do I know about anything? But it seems there's a bit of a connection.
Okay, so just quickly, I'm just going to show you, just walk you through Donald Trump. So the latest news is make Iran great again. Trump calls for Iranian regime change as he holds crisis talks with UK Prime Minister. What's he going to do? He's going to tell Keir Starmer what he's doing and then do something completely different. Make Iran great again.
How are we going to say that? MIGA?
MIGA.
How are we going to say this? This is so clever of him, isn't it?
Iran says it's coordinating. These are all the latest headlines this morning. Iran says it's coordinating with Russia and warns US should expect heavy consequences. This is what Donald Trump posted last night. It's not politically correct to use the term regime change, but if the current Iranian regime is unable to make Iran great again, why wouldn't there be a regime change? MIGA.
Exclamation mark, exclamation mark, exclamation mark. 4 exclamation marks from the President of America. Wow, he must really mean this.
David Lammy, meanwhile, this morning declines to say whether UK government views US strikes on Iran as illegal. Foreign Secretary David Lammy has repeatedly declined to say whether the British government believes that the US strikes are illegal or legal. I mean, come on, guys. This is just...
And what about the utter humiliation of Vance, Hegsmith, and Rubio? He sent them out to say, and Vance actually was very patronizing with it when he was asked the question, because remember, you're not supposed to ask many. This is not about regime. Come on. This was never. Rubio says the same. Hegsmith says the same. And then 2 hours later, their fella comes out and Rogers them and basically goes, yeah, it could be regime change. And I said to Mark, I had like a candy floss dream here. I said to Mark, do you think the people really, really close to him that he keeps utterly dismissing? What's the woman who he just said, well, she's wrong?
Tulsi Gabbard.
Tulsi Gabbard, who said that there were no nuclear weapons. He's their own investigations like weeks ago. And he just threw her under the bus and goes, well, she's wrong. Who said that? Who said that? Oh, she's wrong. I said to Mark, could there be a bit of a Caesar moment at any point where these people close to him start whispering in the corridor saying, Jesus Christ.
Well,
He's a proper loon. I mean, my God.
Well, he has pulled the rug from underneath every single one of his senior
Exactly. Do you not think there'd be whispers in the corridors of the White House saying we might have to impeach him ourselves because the man's a madman?
Depends on how this floats. I mean, I'm as intrigued to see not only what Iran's response is going to be. Obviously, the Strait of Hormuz, they're saying they're going to close, which could have a massive effect on the price of oil. The stock markets are going up today. I mean, literally, the money makers in the West are just looking at this as some kind of parochial kind of.
Just very quickly explain about the Straits.
The Strait of Hormuz is a canal. It's broader than a canal, but it's a vital shipping lane for global gas and oil supply. It's something like 25%, 20 to 25% of all global gas and oil travels through it.
Probably one of the reasons previous presidents have done everything to try and avoid having this kind of conflict with Iran, because it's so important for the world economy and everything.
Well, of course, but one of the problems for Iran is, as someone just said, Shakir al-Bad, one of the things that's crushed the Iranian economy have been the sanctions. Remove the sanctions and Iran would probably be okay, and probably wouldn't even be looking for kind of nuclear energy.
Well, that's what they've always said. Tomorrow we'll do everything we want, just lift the sanctions.
The other issue is that if they do close off the Strait of Hormuz, then of course it will also have an effect on Iran. So it's it would be a Pyrrhic victory in which they would stand to lose an awful lot too, and they're an economy that is really struggling.
Have any sanctions been put on the country where there's an ongoing genocide? Just wanted to check.
Not a single sanction apart from the two most extremist, rabid, supremacist, Islamophobic, monster settlers have been told they can't travel to the UK.
Oh, and they said they didn't care anyway.
They never go to the UK.
That's all the sanctions that are on. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Can we just have a little quick flick at that again, just while we remember?
I'll do it.
And how long have Iran had in sanctions? 45 years or something. Yeah. Okay. Sorry, I just needed to just check.
Now, of course, the important thing to say here in terms of from the perspective of Israel, many will say, well, Iran hasn't directly attacked anyone because it uses all of its proxies in the region. But if you want to get into the discussion on those proxies, you have to tiptoe into extraordinarily complicated, historic conflicts, again, between the Palestinians and the Israelis, because it's not as straightforward as they've created a terrorist cell and they just want to destroy Israel. You know, some would argue, I'm not saying this, but some would argue, and from certain perspectives in the Middle East, that these are people fighting other battles against Israel. So, you know, if one wants to have that conversation, one has to have it in a much more detailed fashion. But of course, many in Israel, and this is the problem. This speaks to the problem of the whole crisis. Many people in Israel simply see Iran as they've created proxies, they fire missiles at us, they want us wiped off the face of the earth. Iran has many times over the years said they don't want there to be, you know, a state of Israel. They've said death to America. Now, all of these things absolutely smack against a two-state solution, of course, and a two-state solution has to be the way forward. But the problem here is, and again, these are the double standards. No one in Israel, in the Israeli government, is asking for a two-state solution anymore. So if Iran's bad for it, then Israel's bad for it too. It's not about Iran is right for calling for the state of Israel to not exist, but Israel is calling for Palestine not to exist. Now, I mean, there's no two ways about it. Israeli foreign policy is about denying a Palestinian state. So quid pro quo, who's more worse than who?
And we're not saying, we're simply posing the question.
Yeah.
So
can I just show you this in case you're worried about extremism in the Middle East? This is just some footage from the White House. So evangelicals, being an evangelical and allowing religion to define your life and your foreign policy and how you conduct yourself isn't the sole reserve or preserve of Muslims. That's all I wanted to say.
I've never heard the Bible quoted so many times by politicians in America at the moment. Well,
in fact, there are more politicians in the West quoting the Bible than I'm hearing Muslim leaders quoting the Quran or anything. I mean, it's just, what's going on here? It's really odd. It's really odd. Okay, shall we move on to this really tragic story of Kelsey Parker? So we're moving off global politics now, and we're moving more to a domestic topic. This is someone I personally haven't had any experience of, but the news has broken. Tragic news. You know her, don't you?
And as I said to you, Mark, this morning when I saw the news, she's been on Loose Women. I'm
going to pop up some photographs of her.
Loose Women a number of times. And
Kelsey Parker.
Yeah. And if there's anybody here that is, from another country, Loose Women is a show that I'm on. It's a TV show. It's rather like The Talk in America. And so she's been on lots of times on the show. She's been guest panelist. She very tragically lost her husband, Tom Parker, from The Wanted, from a rare brain cancer. She had two small children. She's just, I just think she's adorable. Whenever she comes on this woman, she's so honest. She's been through so much. And I mean, a few years before he actually died, as she says, I was practically his nurse. She's been through a lot.
And these are images of her with him that
with
we're
her first
now.
husband.
Yeah,
Last September, she met somebody new, and we were all so thrilled for her. And actually, she was on about 2 or 3 months ago, talking about her pregnancy. And then very sad news yesterday that just a week before she was due, they have lost the baby. And so she posted this on her Instagram: born sleeping, forever loved. The world grew quiet as you arrived, so loved, so longed for, yet not alive. Our precious boy, our angel light, born with wings, took silent flight. We named you Phoenix, brave and bright, a soul of love, of warmth and light. Though we never heard you cry, you'll live in our hearts, that won't ask why. No breath you drew, no eyes to see, still you mean everything to me. You'll journey with us softly near, in every sigh, in every tear. And So painful. And as I was saying to Mark, you know, whenever somebody that is known talks about baby loss, I know it brings that up for people in whatever way you might have lost a baby, whether that's through IVF, whether that's through miscarriage, whether that's through stillbirth, as Kelsey has, and whether by war, you know, war and starvation and lack of prenatal care and all the things that we know are going on for women across the world. And so I just thought, because we don't know the ins and outs, we don't want to go into the, and we don't know, and it's, you know, and she needs to just get on with her grieving. But it was more, I said to Mark, let's touch on it, because I know that people will want to probably talk about, you know, their own loss. Mark and I went through we've been through miscarriages, and at the time, I always say I feel very healed about it. And some people may agree or not agree with this, but I feel very healed through our miscarriages. And it's because this is not the case for everybody, but I really felt that when Kiki came, it felt to me like she had come through, and I thought I was totally like healed and accepted with it, and didn't haunt me and in the way that it had. And then recently we had something called the Rosen method, which is where you have like this sort of, I can't really explain it, but basically it releases trauma in the body. And I spent ages sobbing about my miscarriages. And I was like, and I said to the woman that's doing it, I said, I feel really weird, because I've always felt in my head, I felt healed from it when Kiki came. I felt so blessed that we had Kiki, because we were told we probably wouldn't be able to have another baby, all of it. And she said, she goes, and that's probably the way you do feel here, but your body still holds the trauma and the sadness. And my God, I came downstairs and my eyes were swollen. I just I didn't know there was all this still held in there. Yeah. So for some people that haven't felt healed by the next child, or indeed haven't been able to have one, these moments when there's a spotlight on baby loss again, I know can be really hard.
Can I read out some comments?
Yeah.
Zoe, hi Zoe. I think I spoke about this before, but I had a miscarriage when I was 19. I was so young, and it was all very overwhelming. But I really feel it fucked me up for years. Yeah.
And as Victoria, we say, we don't rid ourselves of grief. We just grow around it. Yeah.
I had a miscarriage, Victoria Moore, between my two children. Having my daughter afterwards saved me. Never felt pain like it.
And of course, so many people don't go on to have a baby, and it's just endless.
Sherry D, pregnancy loss really affects your confidence and security if you conceive again. It's so worrying. You don't everything. And also one of the things
that was me. I was just, every time I was convinced.
And also one of the tragic things is, and I'm not suggesting we have any knowledge of this whatsoever, but I know that given that her two children are obviously with her sadly passed away ex, and this is a lovely this is a lovely new partner. There will be that sort of there'll be that other kind of aspect of, you know, they were going to have their own child too. Do you know what I mean? It's obviously a wonderful stepdad, and you know, the blended family thing as well. It gets really complicated, and I certainly remember for us when you had a number of miscarriages there, it did. Yeah, it doesn't matter if you have children already or not. It doesn't work like that. It just doesn't work. It doesn't
work like that. They're pain, and it doesn't.
Rosie shared a very emotional point. I just want to share this. Rosie Muck. My baby Molly was stillborn at 8 months in 2003. I think about her every day. I have 3 other children, and we all include her in our family and have a corner of the garden as a remembrance.
Oh God, I'm so sorry.
Bless you, Rosie.
We were just talking about that, weren't we? We were just like, can you imagine? I remember that quite close to when I was like maybe a week before, I had Maddie, because I had her at home, and there was somebody who was mutually, I knew her through somebody else. I didn't know her, and she lost her baby the week before stillbirth. It was the cord around the neck, and I remember just being, oh my God, it was just so horrifying. And that's what I was also thinking about today, was that people that are now very close towards end of, you know, to the end of the pregnancy and looking forward to the, you know, that you hear that noise, and it's like noise, isn't it? You're not looking, it's just like, it's just, But, you know, remember, if there is anybody here looking at that, just stay calm. This is still rare. You know, it can feel like that fear can come in, and you've just got to kind of shut out the noise and just keep doing all the things that you're doing, you know, and just step into your world. Because I know certainly for me, hearing that a week before was just awful.
I'm just awful. Just share a few more stories because people have been very vulnerable in sharing. I was having triplets last year, Bridget M. One vanished, then I lost the last two towards the end of last year.
Darling.
Still almost entirely
broken.
Oh
my God.
Wow.
Bridget, that's just
tragic, Bridget.
How are you managing?
Yeah.
I don't know whether you're having any support, but a friend of mine recently who lost somebody,
Lynn J,
she got huge support from Cruise, who are free bereavement counselling. And she said she tried loads of other things and she said they were amazing. So I don't know, maybe you are already getting help, but it's just, this friend of mine said
Thank you, everyone, she says, Bridget. Lynn J, I still sob about a baby my mum and dad lost in 1968. Their trauma was so real in our family. And again, that reached through.
It does.
Yeah.
And sometimes children, I remember years ago knowing somebody like this, and their mum, I'm not even going to say the number, it was so, they went through a lot. There was a lot of miscarriages before this child. And he carried enormous survivor's guilt about that. And I don't think his parents even really knew. He just held it in him.
Really?
Yeah. So I wonder if it's the same for you. And she was you know what it was? She had something called sticky blood. And we did this on City Hospital. Another woman that I did an interview with, and she'd had tens of thousands of pounds worth of investigations within the NHS. And then it turned out she had sticky blood. And the treatment for it, nobody take this, nobody do this. This was a big thing in a hospital. But if you are having miscarriages and you haven't had the test for sticky blood, it's worth asking, because the fix for that was half a junior aspirin. She'd lost all these babies. Yeah.
A little bit like it's the same for thinning the blood, isn't it? I wonder whether, I mean, obviously, you know, a lot of alternate therapies, somatic healing,
Marie had it. Had sticky
healing.
Blood.
A lot of these conditions, you know, a lot of these things they sort of analyze or deal with, don't they? A lot of alternative therapies deal with generational trauma. I wonder if the womb holds trauma.
Absolutely.
And then that can, in no small way, be passed on to a subsequent child in that space.
That's what I wonder with our kids. I'm Sherry, I'm a baby after miscarriage. My mum miscarried twice before she had me. I'm an only child. Once I was born, she said, that's it. She was just, and I do worry about that sometimes. You know, I do worry about that, because I think that I was so fearful when I was pregnant. You know, and I didn't believe she was going to come, did I at all? Like when she was born, Mark and I just kept sitting there going, we were so shocked. I kept saying, she's here, she's here, she's here. I don't believe that can't carry through a bit.
Yeah, I mean, you know, so much of our bodies can. I mean, I'm labouring with a sort of, you know, people.
Can I just pause for 1 second, because this is really interesting. Anne-Marie, oh my God, now this is the only time I've ever heard anyone talk about it. Sticky blood. Because you had it, Anne-Marie, right? And did you have loads of other tests? Because when I asked the doctor, I remember in the hospital, I said, well, how come she didn't have... He said, you know, the thing is, we don't know about all things. You can go through doctors. There's so many different...
Well, I would suggest that most doctors don't know a lot of things.
Well, GPs don't. They can't know. There's so many new things fanning out. So I always say to people, it's worth just getting the test.
I mean, if people... I mean, this is the case for me, or that hasn't in the last 12 months. A lot of people can have a similar kind of dip in their immune system and get colds at the same time each year, or there's a certain vulnerability. There's a rhythm. We're creatures. We're sort of, what's it called, the circadian rhythm, cyclical. It wouldn't surprise me at all that if your body can hold a memory of trauma and sadness and hurt, then perhaps a place as complicated and amazing as the womb would be exactly the same.
Absolutely. So a bit of a recommendation here for people from Victoria Moore. Thank you, Victoria. I read a great book called Miscarriage Mum. That really helped me. Also, quite a few years ago now, Mark and I did a podcast from both of our POV of our miscarriages. And I have often sent the link to people, Mark, when they've said that they're really struggling talking to their husband about it. because it tends to be that people really, really focus on the mum. And the thing is, often men sort of shut down because they're also supporting the mum. And then that can really cause like a chasm between the two of you. So maybe we can put the link up
and
for
I
that
think
afterwards.
without going into the details, I do think and that's why when I saw the photo of her with her partner, so they've lost a child. The challenges for a man are difficult because, of course, the priority is the woman. It's like the priority is this has happened to the woman's body. She is going through a primal loss that men could only ever imagine. But of course, there is loss for the man too. And it's, where do you put that? How do you feel that without it eclipsing what's going on for your wife or partner?
There's the loss of the baby, but also the pain that you're seeing your partner in. And I think often men shut down because they feel their feelings are valid. So that's why it was so good when you spoke so openly about it. Anne-Marie, this is again sticky blood. It only shows up in pregnancies. So tested at 5 weeks pregnant, and then it was an aspirin a day. Happened again with second pregnancy, aspirin again, and had 2 healthy boys.
Wow.
Don't anyone just take an aspirin though. It has to be, you have to just ask for the test for sticky blood. Well, Anne-Marie, isn't it just? I never forgot that story of that woman. That was years and years ago, but it was just such a powerful story because you've been through so much.
Yeah, I just want to find Nanny Lanny Loves to Craft. I saw this go up. I've had 24 miscarriages and ectopic. It's a killer. Oh, sweetheart. And I just seen that someone.
Sorry. Can we just take a moment?
Yeah, no, and also I just saw that you answered
24 miscarriages. Yeah. Oh my God. Literally our hearts go out to you. I can't even compute that.
I had many tests over an 8-year period, and when I was pregnant I would have to have blood tests every other day. Sweetheart, so sorry. So sorry. God, how did you pick yourself up each time? Oh, God love you. Thank you for sharing that. Hi, Dawny. Hope you're well, sweetheart. I remember the absolute joy of a friend having a beautiful baby boy and the absolute heartbreak when he died unexpectedly the next morning.
Oh, my God. And it is that ripple effect, isn't it? My sister knew, was very close to somebody that lost a baby, and it totally traumatized her. Dean as well, didn't it? Totally traumatized her. So I'm really glad that you brought that up, Dawn, because, we talk about the husband having to shut down the feelings, but then the nannies, the sisters, the brothers, the uncles, the aunties, the friends. Because, but it touches us all so deeply, doesn't it?
It's a sort of giddy disorientation because everything up until the moment of the finality of it, you're not just living through. It's not just the idea of a baby, and this is something that crept into the miscarriage trauma for me. It's all of the futures. Not that you're literally writing it, but you get ready, don't you? It's a bit like, how skiers get ready for the ski jump and they settle in and they get ready to go. You're settling into that position at the top of the ski jump, ready to go. This is a new child. We've got a life ahead of us and we're going to go down the slope together. And of course, whoa, handbrake turn. I just want to share this. It's just absolutely horrendous, Zoe. I have a family member mentioning their names who says, I don't deserve to be a mum now because of what happened. What kind of brutality is that, sweetheart?
Well, I'm sorry, I'm going to be totally outspoken. That's pure evil. That's pure evil for me. That's like, no grey area there.
Sarah D. I was placed on a birth ward with new mums when I was actually having a miscarriage, watching mums, blimey, with new babies and family visiting, and I'm laying here having a miscarriage.
Sarah, I have heard this many times. You're not alone. And when I was told that I'd lost our baby, I was actually at work. I was doing City Hospital, and they took me upstairs for a scan. Do you remember? And they said to me, do you want to go onto the ward to have it? And I was like, I was just so freaked out. I was so freaked out by that. And I actually went home to have it. But wow. And when you're scared, and I knew that, I'm homeopathically friendly. I've got my sister next door. I have my husband. I had like family that were very natural and stuff. I knew I had an option to go home. But if you're like really frightened and you think this is the only place I can have it, then I was talking to somebody just the other day at work who that very same thing happened. So cruel. So cruel. How can they not imagine how that might feel? Also, not only for you having the miscarriage, But the unbelievable guilt you'd feel having a baby as well.
Well, someone's just, who was it who just said that comfy colouring, my cousin and I were expecting at the same time. While I was in hospital having my baby, she lost hers and had to labour a stillborn. Thankfully, I didn't message her my news as I had no idea. And I guess you felt some sort of guilt.
God.
You know, survivor's guilt would kick in there too if you've been alongside each other in pregnancy. It's just horrendous.
God.
I mean, sometimes
we've got a family member who was pregnant at the same time as me in the miscarriage before Kiki, isn't it?
Yeah.
We're not close. We don't. I mean, we just don't see a lot of each other. But whenever I do see them or I hear about their daughter, like the other day, I was just looking at some photos of them and I thought, my God,
colouring says I feel
ours
guilt
would have
every
been the
day.
same.
Sweetie, God, so sorry.
Work through that. You didn't do anything wrong. You didn't. I know it's hard, but just that's trauma that you're holding in your body every day.
Look at this. So many terrible stories. No, sorry, I'm just trying to get going. I was Kathy Hyde. I was told I was having a miscarriage at 23 weeks on a maternity ward for 3 days. My son was born and got transferred to another hospital, and I had option to stay on ward with other mums and babies.
Oh my God. I mean, how does your brain even
process all of that? I mean, unfortunately, any health system or most health systems just seem like such a blunt instrument sometimes.
Especially with women. Women get a much
such a blunt instrument. And I do find this whole idea of, I mean, I hear so many cases of people being put on certain types of wards where it's just so inappropriate.
Oh, hi, Lynn Aoki. How are you? I haven't seen you for a bit. I lost my first baby very early. Went for the first scan. Evil midwife asked me if I was sure I was pregnant. That's so horrible. Had to get an emergency operation to remove the baby as it hadn't formed properly.
Oh,
horrible.
sweetie.
So sorry.
Sweetie.
Guys, thank you so much for sharing. It's a huge thing.
My mum had a baby boy that died in 64 and she wasn't allowed to see him or grieve.
That was when I was born, 64.
God.
And it thank you for that, her all her life, wasn't it?
Thank you for sharing so many vulnerable, that's, incredibly touching cases there and experiences.
Thank you. It's always so meaningful when we get to talk to you and don't forget Cruise, very good place that has been recommended to me a number of times for those suffering with grief. And you can still get help 20, 10, 30 years afterwards. You don't have to think, oh, that's too long away, it's not my right. It is, because it's truly, truly horrific going through any kind of loss. So thank you again. Guys. And tonight, please do not forget, guys, 8 p.m, members area, the new Sunday show is now on a Monday because Mark and I desperately do need to take a day off and it was getting a bit silly. My ex was raging. We just need to have a day off. So Sunday is now Monday. And it will be a really nice show. Yeah.
2 lives did land yesterday, analysing the immediate aftermath in a lot more detail. The Iran is America kind of conflict. So if you want to catch up on those, please do. Something else will be also landing at some point today, a vlog of some form. So
and Lynn Aoki, we will remember. She's on the brighter side. It became a grandparent. We remember because you shared it all with us at the time.
Yes, absolutely.
We remember it was in lockdown, wasn't
absolutely.
It? So. Yes, how beautiful. Enjoy being a granny.
MeTube says, keep calling it the Sunday Show. No, the name of the new show now is the No Name Sunday Show on a Monday. Okay, that is the name of it.
That's it. Okay. And please just hit that subscribe button, share our videos. We really appreciate it. We are just humanitarians who are just a little bit traumatized about how other human beings are treated. And we like to get the word out just from our kitchen table. So,
okay, guys, have a good day. Thanks again. Thanks again for being so vulnerable.